5 huge celebs who went completely broke. We typically associate fame with incredible wealth, but no matter how much money they make, celebrities manage to overspend and end up in financial ruin, with no option but to file for bankruptcy. To be fair, many of them just made some bad investments, but oftentimes, it was the result of living a lavish lifestyle and flexing a little too heavily. Other times, it's because they were too quick to spend and didn't have enough cash left by the time tax time came around. From riches to ruins, here are 5 unlucky celebs who managed to go broke and how. Oh, and if you think the president of the US would be the one person secure enough not to end up broke, then number 1 is going to blow your mind. Let's get started. Number 5. Marvin Gaye. The soul legend Marvin Gaye, known for a string of hits from Heard It Through the Grapevine to What's Going On, was forced to declare bankruptcy back in 1976 after his divorce. The settlement demanded that the already cash-strapped singer pay all royalties from his next album to his ex-wife to make up for $600,000 in unpaid alimony. So what was supposed to be a kiss-off alimony payment to his ex-wife turned his 15th album into a towering ode to divorce he ironically titled, "Here, My Dear." Aside from his lavish lifestyle, it was Gaye's growingly expensive cocaine habit that burned through his earnings at light speed. Unfortunately, his final years were defined by financial struggles and drug addiction until he was tragically shot to death by his own father during a heated argument. Number 4. Larry King. The legendary broadcaster we know as Larry King was far from financially secure in the early days of his business. Quite the opposite, really. The former radio talk show host and former CNN primetime staple, who now enjoys a net worth of $150 million, was actually arrested and charged with grand larceny back in 1971 after ripping off $5,000 from his then business partner. Although the charges were dropped, the whole thing made him toxic to employers, and a 4-year stretch without work left him with a $350,000 debt that led him to declare bankruptcy in 1978. To his luck, things turned around that same year when he was offered a late-night radio gig in Washington, D.C., which eventually turned into the wildly successful CNN show we know him for today. Thankfully, all is well that ends well, and his days of financial difficulties are long behind him. Before we move on to our next long big-name celeb gone broke, we have a quick challenge that'll just take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. Leave us a like, smash that subscribe button, and turn on notifications, and you'll win 10 years of incredible luck. Try it. It actually works. Number 3. Kim Basinger. On the highly questionable advice from some family members, actress Kim Basinger bought an entire 1,700-acre town in her home state of Georgia with a plan of turning the place into a tourist attraction by building a movie studio and hosting a film festival. Basinger put down $20 million on her vision, which sadly never came to fruition, and later ran into financial difficulties, forcing her to sell off big chunks of her town. In an interview, she admittedly said that nothing good came out of it, and all the entire experience ultimately did was cause strife with her family. Soon after, Basinger agreed to do the 1993 film Boxing Helena, but eventually backed out of after realizing how creepy it was. The movie studio took her to court for $8.1 million and won, which forced Basinger to file for bankruptcy. However, she did take a massive risk by appealing the decision to a higher court, which ruled in her favor, and she later settled with the studio for $3.8 million. We're glad at least that one paid off. Number 2. 50 Cent. Who would have thought that the man who managed to get rich without dying while trying would eventually file for bankruptcy? Well, back in May 2015, Forbes named 50 Cent one of the 5 wealthiest hip-hop artists, pegging his net worth at $155 million. But after a few bad investments, and a massive $5 million involving a woman who said he posted a sex tape of her online, put the rapper's stack of cash at serious risk. It got so far, he eventually filed for Chapter 11 protection in a Connecticut court, a move that allowed him to reorganize his finances while developing a plan to repay his creditors. His debt was estimated to be between $10 million and $50 million, which is roughly the same worth his assets had, basically making the G-rapper bankrupt. In July 2016, he came out of bankruptcy with a plan to repay more than $23 million in debt over the next 5 years. And if there's anything we know 50 can do, it's getting rich. Number 1. Donald Trump. Finally, here's the least expected riches to ruin story in today's video. Donald Trump himself named his business experience as one of the main reasons he would make a great candidate for president, but a string of business failures and bankruptcies have us questioning the man's overconfidence. While Trump has never personally declared bankruptcy, his companies have gone bankrupt 6 times. The first was in 1991. When his Trump Taj Mahal casino in Atlantic City went bust. Several more of his casinos and hotels went bankrupt in 1992. 2 more casino and resort bankruptcies happened in 2004 and 2009. After the last bankruptcy, Trump stepped down as chairman of Trump Entertainment Resorts and reduced his share in the business to 10%. For what it's worth, the now President of the United States sees his bankruptcy declarations as a strategic business move. Trump himself once reassuringly said he's cut debt, and by the way, this isn't me personally, it's a company, saying he just used the laws of the country to my advantage, just as many others on top of the business world have. We'll leave it to you to decide whether the president is to be trusted with money. And those were 5 huge celebs who went completely broke. Do you still believe money can solve all problems? And by the way, which of these shocked you the most? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. And if you found this video exciting, you should definitely check out